All right, hey, welcome to MS101 Lesson 03 on the U.S. Military Customs and Courtesies. My name is Captain Silver Beatty, and I'm an APMS with the University of Montana Grizzly Battalion over there in Missoula, Montana, and I'm going to be leading you through this lesson today. Now, I'm going to warn you ahead of time, this is a long lesson. There's a lot of information, and if you're anything like me, listening and learning through a video on YouTube is a little bit more difficult than if I were standing in front of you and able to actually engage you in discussion. So if you need to pause right here and go grab yourself a cup of coffee, an energy drink, something to keep you awake, I highly recommend that. And on top of that, I also recommend that you have a piece of paper and a pencil or pen out ready to take some notes because there, again, is a lot of information here. If you can't get a piece of paper and pencil out, get a Word doc open. Keep it up open on the side, pause as you go, type out some notes, and just pay attention because you are expected to know quite a bit by the end of this lesson here. And again, I can only tell you so much through a computer screen. There's a lot more that you can learn just by taking those notes and then going and asking some people about those questions that you might have. Now, before we even start, feel free to scan that QR code right there on the title slide. That's going to take you to a website version of this exact same presentation. However, it has embedded links that you can click on that'll take you to some additional information, which I'll talk about shortly. And this way you can also save that URL, put it in your notes, and have access to it at any given time to go through at your own pace. So with that, like I said, there are embedded links throughout this. Here on page 2, we've got the handout and read ahead for this particular lesson, as well as audio links for bugle calls and some other military music that we'll talk about. And if you're really feeling excited, you can click on that TC 3-21.5 drill and ceremonies, published and updated as of May of 2021. All of this here is just to give you some more in-depth learning opportunity, maybe engage you a little bit more, give you some more information, far more than I can give you in this short YouTube video that you are watching right now. So whether you're watching because you want more information or you're watching because your cadre told you to, I appreciate you being here. Let's dive right in. So our learning objectives for this particular lesson, by the end of this time with me, I want you to be able to identify some military rank, or at least start identifying some of it. I want you to know how to be able to salute at appropriate times, understand how to respond to the passing of the colors, and also how to respond to the National Anthem and other military music. So pretty cut and dry, this is all customs and courtesies today. So let's start off with our bottom line. Here with this lesson, what I'm hoping will help you is that as an Army ROTC cadet, you're going to be able to use this to create a foundation of respect that'll assist you in understanding the roles and responsibilities that are associated with an individual's rank within your own Corps of Cadets. So whether you're at a satellite school, a crosstown school, maybe one of the large programs, this lesson here will give you a little bit of an idea of those roles, responsibilities of maybe some of your upperclassmen. So you are likely part of a battalion, which is part of a bigger brigade, and you can understand how to show the respect to that rank that your upperclassmen have earned. Now, long term, in your Army career, this lesson is going to help create a base of understanding of respect that you'll follow and enforce during your entire career, right? Army leaders honor everyone's individual worth by treating everybody with dignity and respect. So this helps strengthen our entire organization. This lesson will also help by giving respect that's due to others. You will then inspire them to respect others. Otherwise, you might allow disrespect towards other people, especially your own subordinates. Now, by understanding that respect for the individual, it forms the basis for the rule of law, that very essence of what makes us America. So in the Army, respect means recognizing and appreciating the inherent dignity and worth of all people. And this particular value should remind you that your people are your greatest resource. Now, I want you to think about it. Have you ever saluted someone? And why? Were you maybe part of a JROTC program where you learned how to salute earlier in high school? Are you prior service? Have you done it just because you saw it done on TV or video once? What are your reasons behind it? Now, speaking of salute, we're going to watch a quick video clip, and maybe you've seen this show. It's a great military movie series called The Band of Brothers. Now in this clip, you're going to see Major Winters in a vehicle correcting Captain Sobel, the one walking, for not saluting him. Now Major Winters does remind Captain Sobel that a salute is a gesture of respect for the rank, not the person wearing it. And if you've seen this series before, you might understand the background of this, of how Captain Sobel used to be in charge of Major Winters. So that might play into the disrespect that you're about to see.
Captain Sobel?
Major Winters?
Captain Sobel. We salute the rank, not the man.
Männer!
Now, when we think about this, why do we feel that rendering respect is important? Well, according to the Army, respect is at the center of all of our U.S. military customs and courtesies, whether it's showing respect to each other or to our national colors. So with that, did Captain Sobel render the proper courtesy to Major Winters in that clip that you just watched? Well, he acknowledged him, but he did not provide the proper salute as is expected when passing an officer that is higher in rank. Now, of course, he was corrected. He did fix that, but initially, he didn't give that salute. Now, I want you to keep in mind as we go through this that if you're watching this and you're an ROTC cadet, you are expected to adhere to Army customs and courtesies during all ROTC activities and events. So what you'll learn today, we do expect that you put that into place throughout your career in ROTC as well. So I want you to think about this. Why is it even important to know the Army rank structure? Seems like a pretty cut and dry question, right? Because it identifies who's in charge, the rank identifies increasing levels of responsibility, and as units grow in size, rank identifies the hierarchy of progressive leadership positions. And at the end of it, rank binds all military personnel together as a team with leaders. And if you're in ROTC, everything that you're learning about should play into the idea of leadership. So with identifying military rank, this chart right here is broken down pretty darn well to help explain it. On top, we have our enlisted ranks, which the pay grades there are considered E1 to E9. In the middle, you have your officer ranks, what most of you are probably aspiring to earn someday. And those are O1 to O10. Now on the bottom, we have this really interesting portion of the military where we have our warrant officer that are ranks W1 through W5. Now I say they're very interesting because we kind of call them the unicorns. There aren't a lot of them in most branches, most military organizations or Army organizations. And there's a lot of running jokes that once you actually join the military, join the Army, you'll understand a little bit better. So we're just going to focus on those top two for the most part, those top two lines. And you'll see that the top is Army specific. So all those enlisted ranks are specific to the Army because the Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, they have different insignias and actually different names for their enlisted ranks. Now, if you move into the middle, you'll see the officer ranks. Those are consistent among the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines. So it's important to understand those because then when you recognize that same rank over at the Air Force or on a Marine officer, you'll actually be able to recognize what their position is and where they line up in the rank structure. So what you should do, if you did not use a QR code or you're not pulling this slide up on your own, I would take a picture of this and I would study it on a regular basis because it's going to be important to be able to recognize these. If you're in an ROTC program now, you likely recognize, hopefully already or will soon, up there in the enlisted ranks, your Sergeant First Class, which is the pay grade of E7, and or a Master Sergeant, which is the pay grade of an E8. Those typically fill our military science instructor or our senior military science instructor positions. And then down there in the officer ranks, your professor of military science is typically a lieutenant colonel. In some programs, it's a major there, which is the O5 and O4. And most of your APMSs should be either a captain or a major, so the 03 to 04. You'll see where I line up right now. I'm a captain, so I'm an 03 in the officer ranks. And then you may have some other interns or some other positions as far as cadre within your program that may be second lieutenants or first lieutenants. So you might have gold bar recruiters. There's different positions that you'd probably have amongst bigger programs as well, depending on your area. And if you're in a large scale joint ROTC program, you might even have a colonel. Typically our brigade commanders, so if you're in 1st through 8th Brigade, you're going to have a full bird colonel that's the head of that entire brigade. So again, take a picture of this, start to memorize what the rank insignias are, what the abbreviations are for each rank, so that you can identify those more and more and a little easier as people are walking to you in the future. Now let's talk our salute. Now in this, it's important that we salute at appropriate times, right? There is a historical origin that we'll talk through as far as, the ancient Roman times and knights in armor. And then we have our American history of how we salute and why our salute looks the way it does, where we remove our hat or we touch our hat. And then we're going to talk through how and when to salute. So the origin of the hand salute. It's based in ancient European custom, which was used as a form of greeting. So there's different information on this, depends on what you're reading, but historians do believe that it began in the late Roman times when assassinations were common. So a citizen that wanted to see a public official had to approach with their right hand raised, and this was to show that they didn't have a weapon in their hand. Then when we talk knights, knights in armor raised their visors with the right hand to also show that they held no weapon. The practice then gradually became just a way of showing respect over time. Then in early American history, the practice involved people removing their hats, and then by 1820, the motion of removing their hats was modified to just touching the hat. Since then, touching one's hat has just kind of become part of the standard hand salute that we use today. So I'm going to walk you through this video here before I play it. This is an older video, but it's a very good demonstration of how the hand salute should be done in different forms, different areas, whether you have glasses, whether you have your PC or your hat on. And so this is a drill sergeant here on the right that's going to explain step by step in the way that drill sergeants teach. And then you'll have your demonstrator there on the left that's going to go through each portion. It's a little bit longer of a video, but stick through it, watch it, listen to the intricacies of what changes depending on what the demonstrator is wearing.
The next movement, which I will name, explain, have demonstrated, and which you will conduct practical work on, is the hand salute. This movement is used when reporting and to render courtesy and respect to officers, the flag, and the nation. The commands for this movement are present arms and order arms. Present arms and order arms are two-part commands. Present and order being the preparatory command, and arms is a command of execution. When given, these commands are as follows. Present arms. Order arms. Demonstrator pose. I will use the talk-through method of instruction. The hand salute is a one-count movement. When wearing headgear with a visor with or without glasses, on the command of execution arms of present arms, raise the right hand sharply, fingers and thumb extended and joined, palm facing down, and place the tip of the right forefinger on the rim of the visor slightly to the right of the right eye. The outer edge of the hand is barely canted downward so that neither the back of the hand nor the palm is clearly visible from the front. The hand and wrist are straight, the elbow inclines slightly forward, and the upper arm is horizontal. Order arms from the hand salute is a one-count movement. On the command of execution arms of order arms, return the hand sharply to the side, resuming the position of attention. Remove your headgear. When wearing headgear without a visor or uncovered, and wearing glasses, on the command of execution arms of present arms, execute the hand salute as previously described, except touch the tip of the right forefinger to that point in the glasses where the temple piece of the frame meets the right edge of the right brow. Order arms is executed as previously described. Remove your glasses. When wearing headgear without a visor or uncovered and not wearing glasses, on the command of execution arms of present arms, execute the hand salute as previously described, except touch the tip of the right forefinger to the forehead near and slightly to the right of the right eyebrow. Order arms is executed as previously described. When reporting or rendering courtesy to an individual, turn the head and eyes toward the person addressed and simultaneously salute. In this situation, the actions are executed without command. The salute is initiated by the subordinate at the appropriate time and terminated upon acknowledgement. The hand salute may be executed while marching. When double timing, a soldier must come to quick time before saluting. Note, when a formation is marching at double time, only the individual in charge assumes quick time and salutes. At normal cadence, these movements would look as follows. Present arms. Order arms. Demonstrator, replace your glasses. Present arms. Order arms. Demonstrator, replace your headgear. Present arms. Order arms. At ease. What are your questions pertaining to this movement when executed at normal cadence or using the talk-through method of instruction? Demonstrator, attention! You will now become my assistant instructor. Follow!
All right, so with that, of course, watching through a screen, you're not going to be able to just learn how to salute, right? What you need to do from here is get in front of a mirror, get in front of some of your other classmates or ROTC members, maybe some of the upperclassmen, and practice. I can't teach you by talking through a screen exactly how to do it. Everybody's arms are built different, everybody's body's built different. Some people have their headgear, some people have glasses, some people have nothing. So it's going to be important to actually get the practice down, practice with the headgear, practice without, and get comfortable with doing it. It's awkward. It is awkward to do it in front of people, maybe awkward to do it in front of a mirror, but get it down. Continue watching videos like that, read some handouts, and learn how to position your arm and position your fingers and palm so that you know and understand how to salute properly. Now, when we talk about when to salute, Army personnel in uniform are required to salute when they meet and recognize persons entitled, by grade or rank, to that salute. So like you saw in that first video clip, that was a captain who's outranked by the major. So then, therefore, that captain is expected to salute the major. Now, other times that we salute, when the United States Star-Spangled Banner, so our national anthem, to the colors, Hail to the Chief, or any foreign national anthems are played. We also salute when the national colors are uncased outdoors. We salute during reveille and retreat ceremonies and during the raising or lowering of the flag. We salute during the sounding of honors, when the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag is being recited outdoors, when turning over the control of formations, which you might see maybe during PT. I know our program, we turn over from the platoon leader to the platoon sergeant and vice versa, the first sergeant to the company commander, and the junior rank or the lower ranking person will salute the higher ranking person to turn that over or to take control of that formation. We also do it when rendering reports. So again, in our program, at the beginning of PT, every single time, we do receive the report and then report. And the squad leader will then report by saluting the platoon sergeant and report the attendance of their squad. We also say to salute when encountering officers of friendly foreign countries. That's something that I have done on a mobilization where I worked with several NATO allies. There were different officers of those foreign countries, and we rendered salutes to each other. And then we also do it during any ceremonial occasions that are in that TC 3-21.5 drill and ceremonies. Again, that's a clickable link right there if you have the presentation pulled up on a phone or computer, in which you can look through and see the different ceremonies that they're describing. All right, so just as important of knowing when to salute, it's also important to know when not to salute. So there are definitely times where it's inappropriate or even impractical to render that salute. For example, if you're in public conveyances such as planes or buses, you're in public places like inside theaters, or when driving a vehicle. So examples of when not to salute and when it's not required include being indoors, unless you are reporting to an officer or when on duty as a guard. You would not salute when addressing a prisoner. That's obviously inappropriate. And in those cases, you only exchange greetings. And then either the senior or the subordinate, when they're wearing civilian clothes, you're not required to salute. Now, unique situations that do require a salute, this would be, saluting people in vehicles when recognized individually by grade or identifying vehicle plates and or flags on the vehicle. It's considered an appropriate courtesy. We also know that there's certain situations while saluting in formation where it's performed on command because individuals in formation don't salute or return salutes except at the command present arms by the individual in charge. They place the formation at attention and then salute and acknowledge salutes for the entire formation. Now, saluting when not in formation is completed when there's an approach of an officer, when a group of individuals that's not in a formal formation is called to attention. The first person noticing that officer will then call attention. All personnel will come sharply to that position of attention and salute. This is done with individuals participating in games or members of work details. For example, when our unit or our program is conducting PT outside and they're just kind of getting ready to start, it's maybe 5:50 in the morning, and myself, I walk up to that group of individuals, group of cadets. The first person that would see me would call group or company attention. He'd stand up and salute at that point. Everybody would salute at that point. Saluting indoors now, that's only authorized when you report to a commander, when you're reporting to a military board, when you're participating in indoor duties such as change of command, and then reporting as a sentry indoors. So we don't salute indoors regularly. There are those unique situations. Now, when we talk about the colors, right? So our national flag, our larger colors, there's the history of these going back to the 17th century armies. There was the adopted regimental system. Regiments had specific colors or numbers. It identified identification and position on battlefields. And the color flag party marched front and center, became the focal point for units to dress on or line themselves up on. And the color party led units into battle. So you'll see, I'm sure your units have their battalion colors and then their unit guidons. So maybe your company guidons, maybe even down to platoon guidons, which are kind of those smaller flags and smaller colors. Now, when we talk about saluting the colors, we're talking national and organizational flags. So maybe your battalion colors, if you have those. And then talking when military personnel are passing an uncased national color. So our stars and stripes, right? So how do we respond? Well, when we're talking the colors, that's the national and organizational flags that are mounted on flag staffs and equipped there. They're called colors and are kept at battalion and higher commands. So early on, like we said, the color party would lead the units into battle. They became prime targets, bore the brunt of the battle, and typically suffered heavy casualties. So when we salute the colors, hence the reason why we salute, military personnel that are passing an uncased national color, so it's out there, it's either on the staff, it's being flown. They would salute at 6 steps distance and hold the salute until they have passed 6 steps beyond it. So 6 steps before, about 6 paces, and hold it until you're 6 paces past it. Now, just like that, if you are moving past that, stagnant national color, that's how you do that. If that uncased color is being carried by somebody else and it passes by you when you're just standing or moving slowly, or you're moving in one general spot, you salute it when it's 6 steps away from you and hold it when it's past 6 steps beyond you. So regardless, just remember 6 paces. Anytime there's an American flag near you, you salute within 6 steps and you hold the salute until you're past 6 steps. Now with that, it is improper to salute those small individual flags. So think of flags that people might carry around for rodeos or 4th of July parades. We don't salute those, right? We salute the formal, obvious American flags. It's also improper to salute with anything in your right hand. So if you have a cup of coffee or you have a pen, you don't keep that in your hand to salute. Your hand should be bare. There should be nothing in it when you salute. It's also improper to salute with anything in your mouth. So this, the curriculum says cigar, cigarette, pipe, anything else. That's like old school stuff that you would normally have in your mouth maybe at the time. But this is anything visible coming out of your mouth. You should not salute while it's there. So drop it, take it out, hold it in your left hand, do the salute. If it's a cigar, cigarette, pipe, vape, anything like that, shouldn't be in your mouth to begin with. All right, now let's talk about responding to our national and military music. So the military music connects with military activities. So we have different things that have certain audios, certain music that goes into it. Now, from background, we know that instruments were needed to produce sound out in the open, right? It's pretty obvious. Think about bands, drums, maybe your university has a large marching band. We know that we need those instruments to put sound out into the open. So our U.S. Army Customs and Courtesies actually use a lot of music. In the past, it was used to control military formations and movement and establish that sense of alertness, urgency, attention to detail, self-discipline, and confidence. That music really gave us that confidence. There are still some common bugle calls that we listen to today that are from the past. And of course, we've got our national and military music as well. So what was the role of music in our military history? Well, some of the earliest surviving pictorial, sculptured, and even written records actually show musical or quasi-musical instruments that were used in connection with military activity for signaling during encampments, parades, and combat. The sounds were produced in the open air, and the instruments tended to be brass and percussion, right? So we've got our bugles and we've got drums. Think those for our military history. Oriental, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and American Indian chronicles and pictorials remain show trumpets and drums of all kinds that were associated with soldiers and battles. Now, bugle calls are used in U.S. military service as the result of the Continental Army's contact with the soldiers and armies from Europe during the Revolutionary period. Today, we have first call, adjutants, the adjutant's call, reveille, mess call, officer's call, assembly, retreat, to the colors, and taps. And some of these, if you are placed or stationed or you've spent time on any military base, you've actually heard quite a few of these, and there are particular steps expected of you as far as saluting, going to attention, parade rest, etc. Now, if you have this open on your own phone or you pull it up on a computer, those music notes there will actually take you directly to the music that's associated with each of those songs. I'm going to play a few here so you can hear them and tell you which ones they are, and I'll bet that you can probably recognize quite a few of them. All right, so with these, let's start with reveille. This is what reveille sounds like. Now, as you can imagine, by the sounds of it, reveille is very much a wake up everybody type of music, right? So it is used to wake military personnel at sunrise. It comes from reveille, the French word for wake up. Now, I don't speak French, so I'm sure there's a much better way to pronounce that, but it is French for wake up. It's also played as a bugle call to signal the beginning of the duty day on any kind of base, and it accompanies the raising of the national flag. Now, you may also recognize this one. We're going to play retreat. Now, as you can imagine by the name of it, right, retreat, that bugle call, is typically used to signal the end of the official military day. It's also known as quote unquote sunset. During that bugle call of retreat, the protocol requires standing and facing the flag of music. Now, the ceremony serves two purposes: one, to signal the end of the day, and to pay respect to your flag. Now, another interesting thing about retreat is that most of the time, or many times, at least in my experience, it's also paired with the song To the Colors. And this is what you'll hear for that one. Now, when those two are paired together, that's usually how we do this here in the United States military. The To the Colors is when the American flag is being lowered, and it requires that equal amount of respect that you're giving during the song Retreat. Now, last on this one that we're going to listen to is the song Taps. So this bugle call has two separate pieces to it that we'll talk after you listen, but you've likely heard this many times in the past, regardless of your military affiliation. Okay, so like I said, taps has two separate meanings to it. Now, traditionally, it's known as a signal for lights out. So it's the end of the military day, not just necessarily the duty day, but it's played at night, kind of almost like a last call situation. Now, with that meaning of lights out, it's also traditionally played during patriotic memorial ceremonies and military funerals by our armed forces. And if you think about that, it's really kind of that end of life. It can be a pretty emotional experience to listen to taps during any type of memorial ceremony, and especially military, honors funerals. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're rendering the proper customs and courtesies as you listen to these, and do get with your own cadre or other people with military experience on how to conduct yourself and how to react when you hear this music. We will talk through it a little bit towards the end of this, but start understanding that music, start listening to those audio files, and gain a better understanding of what those songs mean. Now, when we talk more about our military music, we've talked some bugle calls there, and there are a lot. If you go to that second page of this deck, you'll see like audio files, bugle calls. There's actually a lot more that are listed. We didn't even talk about the assembly or first call, but there's a lot more that you can click on. Now this one, the Army song, this is one you need to know. This is our United States military song. So we're going to listen to it, and I'm going to challenge you to have these lyrics memorized and be able to recognize. I know in our program, we play the Army song for our awards ceremonies, for our dining ins, dining outs, and other big ceremonies or events that we host as a program. So we expect our cadets to know the words, and you're expected the day you put that gold bar on to know every word to this song and be excited to sing it. When it's played, you're not expected to just listen to it. You're expected to sing with it. So regardless of your tune, your pitch, your ability to sing, learn the lyrics, and sing it proudly once you do get that first chance to sing it out loud. So I'm going to play it for you, and I want you to watch on the screen those lyrics there, start to understand it, and we'll go from there.
Count the true who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cages loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
All right, so there you go. Now you've heard the Army song, you've got the lyrics, you have no excuse not to understand these, memorize these, and sing them proudly the next time you hear that song pop up. Now, what is the Army song? Well, it's officially titled The Army Goes Rolling Along, but most people just call it the Army song. It's our song, right? It has roots in a field artillery tune that was written by Edmund Gruber in 1908, and it was called The Caissons Go Rolling Along. Now, that song became really popular during World War I, but then underwent significant revisions over those years. Then in 1952, the U.S. Army actually commissioned a new version with updated lyrics that reflected that current Army's broader mission, and then adapted it as our official Army song. So the revised version debuted on Veterans Day in 1956, and as we said, today it's still performed at official Army events, which celebrates our service and the traditions of the United States Army. Okay, so now let's talk about a song that you should already be very familiar with. I won't play this one. You already know this song. You've heard it a million times, whether you've heard Fergie's version or any much better version since that day. But these are the lyrics, right? And it's important that you understand these lyrics, maybe the background. So we'll talk the background of the Star-Spangled Banner and why it's important to us as the United States Army. But it's important that you know the actual lyrics to this because it is expected that you also sing that. And it's still very regularly played at military events, like I said, dining outs, award ceremonies, change of command. There's a lot of different times that you'll hear this. So the background of our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, it was written by Francis Scott Key during the War of 1812. So he actually wrote these lyrics after he witnessed the U.S. Army's defense of Fort McHenry against a British bombardment in 1814, which was inspired by the sight of the American flag still flying over the fort. So just picture that, right? It's not just a song that we learn when we're kids that we sing that's related to America. Now, there's a lot of other additional information about the Star-Spangled Banner and the revisions and some other verses, but we're just focused on these verses right here on the screen. Now, it's also important to know that this song was actually set to the tune of a popular British melody called To Anacreon in Heaven. And though it became really popular, it actually wasn't officially recognized as a national anthem until 1931. So 1931 is when my great-grandmother was born. So anybody before her there was no national anthem. This wasn't the national anthem. Now, the U.S. Army actually played a key role in defending the country during that battle that inspired this song. So it really is linked to the U.S. Army itself and why it's important. So what do we do with military music? What are our courtesies? Well, we're going to break this down on whether you're mounted, you're in civilians, or you're outside. So if you're in a vehicle and you're in motion, you're expected to stop, right? You're brought to a halt. If you're riding in a passenger car or on a motorcycle, you actually dismount and then you salute. Occupants of other types of military vehicles and buses actually remain in the vehicle, but the person in charge of that vehicle dismounts and renders the salute. Now, tank and armored car commanders salute from the vehicle. So, for instance, if you're in just a regular passenger car, you're in your Ford Fiesta, your Honda Accord, You're on a military base, you hear this music play, you stop, you pull over, you get out, and you salute. And you'll recognize this if you're ever on an Army base and the music plays, you'll see everybody stops and pulls over, or at least they're supposed to. Now, if you're in a military vehicle like a Humvee, only the TC, the truck commander, or the person in charge would get out and actually salute. And then, like it says, if you're in a tank or any other armored cars, the commanders just salute from the vehicle. Now, if you're in civilians, or any other, you are a civilian maybe, and you're riding in a passenger car, or you're on motorcycles, you just dismount and stand at attention with your right hand over your heart. And you just hold this position, same with the salute, until the last note of the music's been played. And if you're outside, there's actually no Department of the Army directive stating that Army personnel have to stand at attention. Commanders, other officers, and other personnel can actually encourage this by standing at attention when a band plays or the music plays, the Army goes rolling along, the Army song. So when it comes to that particular song, there's no requirement to stand at attention, but we do encourage that anyway because it is still a military song. Now we're honoring our flag or the song to the colors, the Star Spangled Banner, or any other bugle calls that are meant for our flag. There are different things that we do there as well. So if we're in military attire, so you're in your dress uniform, your field uniform, even your PT uniform, anytime you're in a military uniform of any kind and you're outside, whenever and wherever the United States Star Spangled Banner or To the Colors, Reveille, or Hail to the Chief is played, on the first note, anybody that's dismounted, that's in uniform and not in a formation, will turn, face the flag or the music if the flag's not in view. So you face where you can hear the music coming from. You stand at attention and then render the correct salute. A uniformed personnel hold that position of salute until the last unit of music is played. So just like with the other ones we just talked about. So imagine you're at a PT formation, you hear a song that you're supposed to render a salute to, you stop and turn towards a flag that's in the area, or at least towards music if you can't see a flag. Now, if you're in military attire and you're indoors, when To the Colors or Star Spangled Banner is played, officers and all enlisted people in uniform will stand at attention and just hold that position. You won't salute. You just hold it at attention until the last note's played. If you're a civilian attire and you're indoors, when either of those songs play, all people not in uniform will still at the first note face the flag or the music, stand at attention, and remove their hat, if they have it, with their right hand and place their right hand over their heart. You then hold that position until the last note has been played. So there's 3 different ways to do this. Start understanding these, start understanding how to conduct yourself when we're honoring the flag with that music. So it's a lot of information. This is one of the longer videos, but again, customs courtesies, they are kind of our foundation of respect, right? And if you haven't learned about the Army values, I encourage you to watch my video on the 7 Army values and warrior ethos. Respect is a big part of that. It's our 3rd Army value. So all of this, the music, the saluting, the understanding our rank structure, all of that is very important when it comes to the idea of respect, our values, and how we conduct ourselves. So I hope that by now you're able to at least understand the military rank, maybe not have it all memorized. It took me a long time to memorize everything, but take a picture of that first slide, go back, review it, pull something up on your phone, figure out how to really start identifying those things. I hope you're also able to understand at least the basics of when to salute at the appropriate times and when might not be an appropriate time to salute. One thing I didn't bring up was it's inappropriate or impractical, right, is what one of those slides said. Let's say you are walking and you're holding a big box and you're walking towards an officer of a higher rank. You are not expected to just drop that box as you're walking through the parking lot, drop it, and then render a salute, right? Get used to holding coffee cups or those energy drinks that you carry around or your books or stuff. Get used to holding those in your left hand because you just never know who's going to pop out in a parking lot or around the building. But if it's impractical and you have too much stuff in your hands to salute, don't go out of your way egregiously to try to make that salute happen. That also is something to keep in mind if you don't have things in your hand, but you're about to salute somebody who does, who their hands are full. Don't get salty if they don't salute you back. The biggest importance here is just giving that greeting of the day, which isn't covered in this slide necessarily or in this presentation, but we're talking good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon, sergeant. Good evening, sergeant. It's important to still use those greetings of the day, even if you can't salute. Now, I also hope that you feel a little bit more comfortable in how to respond to the passing of the colors and how you're expected to respond to the national anthem and military music. If you have any questions on any of this, some of it didn't make sense. Trust me, I understand listening to a video, watching a video, and trying to bring in all of this information can be really awkward and difficult. Go find somebody that gets it. Go have a conversation. Go find your advisor or your instructor. Go find a high-speed MS3, MS4 that can walk through all of this with you. That's the best way to really understand these things. Like I said, learn how to practice your salute. Learn your position of attention. Get some practice in, get those reps in, and you're going to feel a lot more confident in doing those movements. Now, if you have any other questions, please reach out to those folks I just talked about. Feel free to shoot a comment here, find me. My email is silver.beatty@mso.umt.edu. But depending on when you're watching this, I might not be available to answer your questions anymore. So find somebody in your program that does have the answers, and don't be afraid to ask those questions. All right, thanks again for sticking with me through this. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the flip side.